Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at the probability of military escalation between Iran and Israel based on some pretty sensitive source material from late 2025.
And the metrics are all pointing to a really unsettling conclusion.
Right. And here's the core paradox we need to tackle right up front. The U.S. military has taken a very strong non-CSG posture. I mean, there's a total glaring absence of the massive carrier strike groups you'd normally see there.
Which is fascinating because fewer carriers usually means de-escalation. But our sources are arguing the complete opposite.
So this absence is actually a signal of higher risk.
Exactly. This posture marks a complete shift. It moves from what you'd call a classic deterrence by presence to a policy they're calling compellence by surprise.
Compellence by surprise. So instead of showing muscle,
You use low observable assets to establish a decisive, almost instant decapitation capability. Our mission here is to figure out what's driving that final critical score.
Okay, let's unpack those factors. We have to look inward first, right? Why would the U.S. government risk something so sudden? It points to that old wag the dog dynamic.
It does. The need for an external crisis to handle, profound internal instability. And the metrics on that domestic instability are genuinely alarming.
What's the evidence there?
It's two things colliding. First, you have total narrative fragmentation. The official narrative, the story the country tells itself, has lost its power. For you, this means if the government says one thing...
A huge portion of the population just assumes it's a lie.
Precisely. Trust in legacy media has collapsed. And if you can't agree on what's true, you certainly can't agree to sacrifice for a long, grinding war.
And that leads right to the second point, doesn't it? The economy. A divided country can't finance a long conflict.
It forces policymakers towards sudden, shocking interventions. The U.S. economy is facing what our sources call a fiscal death spiral, even with some GDP growth on the surface.
And what's the key number there?
Here's the fact that just sticks in your mind. Net interest payments on the national debt now total $1.22 trillion a year. That figure is bigger than the entire defense budget.
Wow. So when debt costs more than your military?
You can't afford long wars. You're incentivized toward quick, decisive, almost reset button type actions. And the Schedule F purge of the civil service removed all the institutional friction, letting that radical mega faction move fast.
So domestic chaos is the fuel. But what's the strategic match that lights it? The thing that fuses U.S. needs with Israel's timeline?
Analysts call it the hegemonic alliance imperative. It's two doctrines just perfectly aligning. First is the U.S. mega doctrine, and yes, that acronym, it's now formal code within the executive branch for regime change in Iran.
It's not just a slogan anymore.
Not at all. And second is the Israeli now or never doctrine. Their timeline is existential. Intelligence suggests Iran's nuclear breakout is now measured in days, not months.
And the northern front is just an unsustainable bleeding wound.
Exactly. It demands a kinetic resolution. They see that window closing, and closing fast.
Which brings us right back to that strong non-CSG posture. It's a fighting posture, not for show. So if the carriers are gone, what's the weapon of choice?
The whole strategy has pivoted to highly lethal, survivable assets. We're talking about SSGNs, the guided missile submarines.
Silent hunters.
And they carry a massive first strike capacity. An Ohio-class SSGN can hold up to 154 Tomahawk missiles. That's a devastating amount of firepower with zero warning.
And they're not alone?
No, they're complemented by long-range strategic bombers. B-21 Raiders, maybe upgraded B-52s, positioned to deliver massive ordnance penetrators MOPs to hit those deep, hardened targets like Fordo.
So if we put it all together, the domestic chaos, the strategic imperative, this unique military posture, what does the model predict for the final scores?
The calculation is stark. The Iran round 2 likelihood, or IRL, is at an 8.45 out of 10. That's firmly in the zone of critical imminence.
And for Israel?
The Israel strike likelihood, the ISL, is calculated at a 10.0 out of 10.
A 10. What does that even mean?
Within the logic of this model, it represents statistical certainty of action. The decision is, for all intents and purposes, already made.
So the trajectory is locked in. How does it happen? What's the mechanic?
It would be a synchronized strike, designed to be over fast. Israeli SE-8 and dead assets clear the air, and that's immediately followed by the U.S. hammer, the SSGNs and bombers, hitting Fordo and key leadership targets.
A surgical regime decapitation.
It satisfies the Israeli existential need and the U.S. political need for a quick, decisive win.
The forces are locked. But there's a huge hidden implication here, isn't there? This brings us all the way back to the economy.
Absolutely. The assessment suggests the endgame is a high-risk gamble tied directly to that fiscal death spiral. With the economy so fragile, the conflict is leveraged to secure crucial energy assets under, new friendly management.
A high-stakes
A
gamble.
huge one. If it works, this could, paradoxically, stabilize the U.S. economy and solve the immediate debt crisis. But if it fails, it risks triggering a global depression. That's the crucial hidden dimension for you to think about.
Thank you for guiding us through this assessment of critical imminence. We really encourage you to explore these dynamics of narrative fragmentation and how internal instability is increasingly driving foreign policy.